tried to write him a song the other night, and we came up with it after somewhat of a session. And we didn't think of anything else, so we decided to call it the Sandy Cannonball. If you will. Listen to the hot line, the jingle and the roar. It's compress on the telephone since Sandy's go to war. You've got a pilot out there that needs your help today. So wake up from nap alpha and get him on your way. We dashed out to our six-pack, the weather it was bad. They'd take on any mission in our mighty super span. Roll on down the runway with a rumble and a roar. Pass across the thresholds and climb you frigging horde. Headed for Moguia with a full head of steam. Trying hard to overtake those frigging Jolly Greens. Put them in an orbit and go on into fight. It lasted all throughout the day and on toward the night. The sun is sinking lower in the western skies, and the frigging Jollies in we hear old music cry. Listen to the rumble, the rattle, and the roar. They're 7mm, small arms by the score. Sandy's roll on in there, survivor if you please. Dig yourself a great big hole and hide amongst the trees. We'll plan a first light effort and be back in the morning. We'll get you out of this here fixed issue as you are born. The sun comes up next morning, Misty says it's right. The Sandy's roll on in there, looking for a fight. The lowly looks it over and finds some ground fire there. They daisy chain upon it and blow it in the air. We put in 20 Mike and a Willie Beach smoke screen to clean up the area for the big Jolly Green. Listen to the rumble, the rattle, and the roar. CBU and miniguns and Charlie is no more. Charlie, come on in where the area is clean. From here on in, this pickup is gonna be routine. The Jollies come on in there, thinking things are great. They get into a hover and then begin to brave. They hear the Jollies calling, we're taking ground by here. Jolly, we're here with you, so you need have no fear. Make your pickup quickly and get on out of there. Let's get on back to the Sandy Box and have a glass of cheer.
Can you tell me about a mission that you worked together? And I believe we were discussing last night, it was Boxer 22. How did you guys, were you wingmen, and how did you get involved in that whole rescue mission?
Yeah, it's a good question. There was a change when I first got to NKP, Nakhon Phanom, Thailand, which is our base. Each of the three squadrons there, the 602nd Squadron that I was in, the 1st Squadron that Jim was in, and the 22nd Squadron, each had distinct individual mission areas. And one of our primary responsibilities in the 602nd was running and conducting the search and rescue efforts when anyone got shot down. Eventually, we lost so many guys both doing that and through the normal rotation because of the one-year tours that we didn't have enough people really to do that job well. And we had a lot of lieutenants, so we had a lot of relatively inexperienced guys. So the wing made the decision to combine that Sandy mission and actually all of the wing missions and have everybody do anything. And one of the first big rescue efforts at that time, or after that time of making that consolidation, was the rescue of Boxer 22. Actually ended up being Boxer 22 Bravo. It was a two-man crew of an F-4 that was shot down in Moguia Pass, and the front seater was killed on the second day of a 3-day rescue effort. But on the first day, Jim and myself, Ron Rounce, and a major that was my wingman, we were the 4 guys sitting on Sandy Alert. I was Sandy 1. This major was my wingman. One of our contemporaries, Ron Rounce, was Sandy 3 and Jim was Sandy 4. So we were launched off alert about 10 o'clock in the morning to go out to Moguia Pass and try to effect the rescue of this F4 crew that had been shot down in probably the absolute worst possible place they could have been. Hence the rescue ended up taking 3 days. But when I first arrived on scene, the job of the Sandys was to orchestrate, conduct the entire rescue effort. So you had literally dozens of aircraft at your disposal from time to time, and you had the ultimate responsibility of as the on-scene commander of trying to get these guys out of there.
Find a survivor, determine the situation at hand, suppress that, and effectively have a pickup attempt.
And fundamentally, we try to make it safe enough for the helicopters to come in, and you know we couldn't do that. We could do a lot of things with the Skyraider, but we couldn't actually land and pick anybody up.
When you say Moguia Pass, it was probably the worst place they could have gone down. Can you describe to us when you say that? What do you mean it was the worst? How was the terrain that bad? What were we dealing with? What were your challenges there?
Yeah, well, it was a very common choke point. There were only 3 major passes coming from North Vietnam into Laos, which was the entire Ho Chi Minh Trail network, where the North Vietnamese were with the demilitarized zone between North and South Vietnam being essentially no man's land. They couldn't move supplies across from North Vietnam directly into South Vietnam, so they set up this trail network into Laos, and they had these 3 major passes that they used to get there. Moguia was probably one of the most heavily defended locations in the history of air warfare. And it was a very narrow, steep pass as it came out of North Vietnam. It widened out a little bit in the area where these guys were shot down. The roads had been bombed for years, so it looked like the surface of the moon with these gray karst formations sticking up, kind of a limestone vertical limestone formation sticking up on either sides of the trail and the river that ran down through the middle of it. And it was a bad area because of all the guns. There was no place to hide down there, and it was small. So the whole valley was 2 or 3 miles across, and maybe
How high
6
were
miles
those
long.
karsts?
A couple thousand feet.
Yeah, a couple thousand.